What's it like to care for someone who's sick? To wait for answers, to hope for healing. These are the moments our nation's healthcare teams and their patients face every single day. And it's why we do what we do. We're Siemens Healthineers, and we pioneer breakthroughs in healthcare for everyone, everywhere. Across the country, from rural communities to busy cities, our medical imaging, therapy, and laboratory solutions help providers deliver care that can be smarter, faster, and more precise. With more than 17,000 employees across the United States, we're driving innovations that support healthcare teams, strengthen systems, and truly change people's lives. Because for us, it's about more than technology, more than innovation. It's a promise, built for generations. Siemens Healthineers.
This guy was a bit like a cult leader.
Eavesdroppin.
Hey there, ho there, Michelle there, and here I am, Geordie here. What?
I actually don't think you even need me in that conversation. It's like, hey ho,
No.
hey ho.
This is a one-sided convo.
Well, that's kind of what a podcast is.
Hey ho, let's go.
Hey ho. It's already gone. To the left, to the right, to the left, to the left.
How does that happen? What's going on with all the little song bits? Oh, I know why. Because we're talking about songs this week. I am anyway.
Are you? I'm bloody not.
I am.
I'm not at all.
Well, I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care, but I am.
Great.
Listen, guys, welcome to the podcast. It's called Eavesdroppin. It's a weekly storytelling entertainment podcast.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is. And for anyone who's listening, because they think they're going to get those hard facts that they can reel off at dinner parties, and you're going to be a dinner party kamikaze, as Geordie once said.
Yeah, don't do
You're
that.
not here for the
because
facts.
You'll end up looking foolish. You're not here for the facts. You're here for the fun.
You are here for the fun.
And some grisly details here and there. But generally, you can repeat things, but in a fun way.
Yes.
Don't repost things on fucking socials. Don't repost things as fact. Do not bring it up at dinner parties. Do not walk out with a megaphone saying anything that you've heard here, because there's some crazy stuff to tell.
There is some crazy stuff. However, I would say at your next dinner party, tell everyone, I listen to a great podcast called Eavesdroppin. Please.
It's a lot of fun, you'll say. If you need a laugh,
come to us.
but also grisly stuff too, because there are murders, aren't there, Michelle? There are murders.
There
There's
are
mayhem,
murders and
quite often.
and deaths. In fact, I have death today. But before we get on to that, Geordie,
So do I.
I had a comment from Jen.
Oh, Jen, she's a prolific commenter. She's always commenting. Thanks, Jen. Jen is Michelle's mother, in case you're new to the podcast. We call her Jen the Hen.
Jen the Hen. She even has her own jingle, maybe even two. She had Pick Up Your Panties and Go, Jen.
She's also recruiting lots of listeners.
Oh, she is. Tina Gibbs, shout out again. But now Jen said to me she was a bit disappointed that when we were speaking about Terence Stamp, we did not mention Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Of course, that's the classic film. He's amazing in that. Sorry, Jen, I don't know how that happened.
She said, how did Geordie not mention Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? And I said, I don't know, but I'll bring it right up.
Thank you for bringing it up, Jen, and I'll tell you how I forgot to mention that. I was in the middle of telling Michelle, if I remember correctly, please don't mention Superman. Everybody's going on about Superman. My next comment was going to be, what about the other fantastic, iconic film he was in, which is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? But Michelle segued in, talking about Charlotte Rampling, how beautiful she is, and that she's in this film with him called The Night Porter with the titties out. But that wasn't it. We got things wrong. Michelle distracted me with Dirk Bogarde, and that is why I forgot about Priscilla. So apologies, but I think you can blame your own daughter for that, Jen.
It was a misstep on my behalf, mixing up Dirk and Terence. Yes, I will admit to that.
Sometimes we get waylaid and we segue away from the theme, don't we? Sometimes, Michelle, that sometimes happens, doesn't it?
It does sometimes happen. However, I will say, of course, Terence in Priscilla, what a performance. Performance of a lifetime. I think it breathed new life into his career at that point, and people remembered that he was absolutely fabulous.
Yes. Somebody said to me the other day it wasn't a great film, but I beg to differ. I think I loved it when I saw it, but it was a long time ago. When was it out?
Oh my God, at least 20 years ago. But
Right.
I loved it at the time. It's one of those things I need to rewatch to assess whether or not it's held up
Yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But Guy Pearce. Is it Guy Pearce? No, it's not Guy
Yes.
Pearce.
It is Guy
Hugo
Pearce.
Weaving.
Hugo Weaving.
And Guy Pearce.
Yes.
Hugo Weaving. I love Hugo Weaving.
He was in something recently I watched. If I remember,
He's in
I'll
things.
tell you.
He's in things.
Yes.
He was in, and I didn't recognize him, Slow Horses. He was, I'm not even going to say who he was because that would give the game away, but he was unrecognizable. I thought he was some American actor.
Yes.
Did not recognize him in Slow Horses until the very end.
He's a chameleon,
What an
that guy.
underrated actor.
Yeah,
He's
he's
not just an elf.
he's amazing.
Not just an elf, not just a bad guy in The Matrix. Not just all the bad guys in Matrix.
That's true. As we're talking about telly, what you been watching?
Yes. Actually, Michelle, I was just about to tell you about this. I've had, as you know, I've had some Polish visitors to the house recently, and I learned all about a Polish film called Sex Mission. I believe you were there for some of that conversation. Apparently, it's a classic, and we were told all about it. My other visitors, my Australian visitors, thought, oh, that sounds like fun. I personally didn't want to watch it, but one evening I was strong-armed, let's just say, into watching only half, thank God, of Sex Mission, which is an 80s film from Poland. It's a little bit like that Woody Allen film Sleeper, where these two men are cryogenically, it's comedy, they're cryogenically frozen. They wake up sometime later in a world without men.
Okay.
Didn't translate.
Okay.
Not for me anyway. Probably a bit dated.
Were people guffawing in your living room watching this?
Well, just the two Polish people were laughing, but I was reading the subtitles and all of the jokes were landing like 2 seconds before they were spoken. So it was all a bit of a mismatch.
Oh, okay.
Sex Mission.
Okay, Sex Mission. It sounds very European. You know how back in the day on SBS, it was all just sexy European movies.
Yeah.
That's all anybody watched SBS for. It feels a little bit like a throwback to that.
Maybe.
I had some news.
Oh, drop some news on us then, Michelle.
Well, it's only going to be news to you
Oh.
because...
Not global news.
Not global news. Our listeners don't know about this, but very recently when we were in London, there was a lot of cunt talk.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking to my partner Andreas about cunt. What does that mean? And I said, well, in Polish, apparently it means edge.
Yes.
Or the crease of a trouser leg.
But I found the actual word. So we had another conversation about the See You Next Tuesday after you left, Michelle.
Okay.
Michelle was present for a conversation about, that word. It was overheard by our Polish visitors. They wanted to know what it meant. We tried to explain it in a way that would illustrate, please don't use it again in public. It's not okay to say it. But it didn't translate until I gave them another word. And please block your ears, Polish listeners. This is from a friend who worked with Polish men on a working site. Because I told the gentleman of the couple, don't say it again, don't tell anyone about this word. But of course he told his partner and she brought it up at breakfast the next morning. So I had to have the conversation again about See You Next Tuesday. And bear with me, kurwa mać. And that's a very rude word in Polish. So I said it to them and they almost fell off their chairs.
Oh, my God.
Then it was laid to rest.
Okay.
Then it was laid to rest. No more talk of the See You Next Tuesday or the kurwa mać. Done. End of.
I had mentioned to Andreas, well, you know, there was a lot of mirth and joviality around this word cunt, because in Polish it means something else. And he went, oh, yeah, same in Swedish. We've been together all these years, and you only now tell me that cunt in Swedish means edge. How do people sit on this information?
I thought you were doing Duolingo.
Yes, but they haven't told me about cunt. Actually, I think it is spelled Kant.
I think that's the thing, really. It's not
Yes.
spelt the way we imagine.
No, it's not. So that's that for the cunty talk. And I have one last thing. As we were speaking of, well, I was speaking of SBS. I've been watching.
Yes.
I've just started it. Jury's out. I like it. Andreas refuses to keep watching. It's a program, Danish, actually. Smiller's Sense of Snow.
Oh, I know that book. I read it.
Did you read it?
It's called Miss Miller's Feeling for Snow.
Okay, well, they've made a TV show called Smiller's Sense of Snow. That's quite hard to say, Smiller's Sense of Snow.
Yeah, there's a lot of S's. I don't know why they've changed the title. Who's it by? I can't remember.
I don't know, because I didn't know it was a book.
Yeah, I read it a long time ago.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah?
Andreas says It's too futuristic for him. I don't like stuff where...
Futuristic?
Well, it's all
can't
set in the
remember now.
future.
Is it?
Maybe not in the book. Maybe they've kind of given it a revision. I'm very much enjoying it. So I'll let you know if it's a rec or an anti-rec.
Wonderful.
Telerex for sure. Telerex, one more. I'm watching telly. You're watching telly. We're watching telly on the telly. It's the television.
Well, I've had a rec flown in from Australia via one of our best listeners and chatters, Safka. She has said she's just wept her way through the Jeff Buckley documentary. Can't remember what it's called. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
But yes, she likes to weep through a documentary, does our Safka.
Were you a Jeff Buckley fan?
I wouldn't mind to see that. Yeah, I was a Jeff Buckley fan after the fact, really. After he died, I didn't discover his music until then. I loved the 2 albums that were released.
They still haunt me, those albums. They were really very popular in my circle of friends at the time, and those 2 albums and his voice and the way he sings, gets me. So I would love to watch it. I didn't know there was one. Thank you, Safka. I'm going to put Smiller on ice and I'm going to watch that instead.
Well, actually, talking about music, and I did allude to this earlier, but that is a great segue for me to start talking about what I'd like to tell you about this week, Michelle and listeners, if they're out there.
What you got for me?
Well, we did say that this week's episode was about celebrity deaths, celebrity murder or murderers, right?
Well, yeah, that's the broad stroke theme. Yeah.
Exactly. We don't give ourselves a strict theme, and often, as you probably know, we do sometimes go off-piste. But this week, I'm talking about reggae legend Peter Tosh and his untimely death by murder.
What? Okay, first of all, I actually don't think I know who Peter Tosh is.
You don't know Peter Tosh? Legalize it. Yeah.
No.
You don't know that?
No,
Legalize
I
it?
don't.
Oh. Well, you're not a reggae fan, huh?
Not super fan. I mean, I know Bob Marley.
Right.
And I believe he was also featured on Evil or Genius.
Who?
I think Bob Marley.
Oh, wow. That's that podcast that our listener Yannicka was listening to. Perhaps we should give that a whirl.
Well, I think we should give it a whirl and a hoot. I believe she said Bob Marley was one of the ones that they looked at. And I think it did come out as evil. So,
shit.
in that, I
Okay,
know.
well, I'm not talking about Bob Marley much today, but he does come into the story because, as most people will know, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer were a trio in the beginning called the Wailing Wailers. And Peter Tosh was actually born Winston Hubert McIntosh on the 19th of October 1944 in rural Jamaica. And Peter didn't have, or Winston Hubert, we're going to call him Tosh. Tosh didn't have an easy start. His parents abandoned him. He was passed around between relatives, and eventually he landed in Trenchtown in Kingston as a teenager, and that's where this story really starts.
Can I say any place called Trenchtown sounds fucked? It sounds terrible. Oh, my God. Sorry to Trenchtown residents.
Don't Trenchtown on Trenchtown. Tosh, though, he was a natural musician. He literally taught himself to play guitar just by watching someone else play as a teenager. He was watching this guy play like half a day. He memorized the guy's hand movements for hours. Then he picked up a guitar and bam, played all the songs straight back. The guy who was originally playing the song said, "Who taught you that?" And Tosh just went, "You did." So he was quite
naturally gifted.
Natural musician, exactly. And then when he was in Kingston, he hooked up with a vocal coach called Joe Higgs. And through Higgs, he met Bob Marley and Bunny Wailer. And they started singing together in the early 60s, became the Wailing Wailers. But it was actually Tosh who was the only one who could play an instrument at that time. He taught Bob Marley guitar. And their first single was Simmer Down. It was a big ska hit. And then by the late 60s, the three of them had embraced Rastafarianism and slowed the things down, basically helped to invent reggae as we know it.
So very...
Founding fathers.
Very influential.
Absolutely. Tosh was also known as Stepping Razor, was another name for him. And he always had this rebellious streak. He wrote the classics, Get Up, Stand Up.
Oh, well.
Don't give up the fight.
Of course,
you know
I've heard of that.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrote that one and another one called 400 Years. He wasn't afraid to call out injustice. He was particularly outspoken against the Island record boss Chris Blackwell, calling him white worst. Tosh eventually left the Wailers in 1974 and he went solo. Mm-hmm. He had a bit of tragedy though in his life because just a year earlier he was driving with the love of his life, this beautiful girlfriend Yvonne, in 1973, and their car was hit by another car that was driving on the wrong side of the road and they had a massive car accident. Yvonne was killed in the crash and Peter Tosh suffered a severe skull fracture and followed by, serious grieving and a bout of depression.
That's horrific. Oh.
And then, like I said, he left the Wailers. The following year, he's solo and he put out that album, Legalize It. Came out in 1976, became an anthem for cannabis legalization and Rastafarian culture. He then followed that with an album called Equal Rights. And later he teamed up with the Rolling Stones for an album called Bush Doctor and even sang with Mick Jagger on the song Don't Look Back. So all of you will be getting onto Spotify right now and tapping those things in for a nice summer playlist, I'm sure.
I will. I don't know any of them.
You should get into it. It's fun. I love a bit of reggae.
Get on my Spotify.
We had reggae on the whole time you were here.
And I enjoyed it.
Did you not notice?
Yes, I did.
You did?
And I thought, gosh, I never ever think to put this kind of music on. It's actually very relaxing. It was very nice. I enjoyed it.
So another fun fact about Peter Tosh is that he was a keen unicyclist. Now that's a talent, isn't it?
Okay.
And once he rode onto the stage on a unicycle and he went backwards as well.
Oh my God.
Well done.
Can you ride a normal bicycle with no hands?
Probably for about 2 seconds.
I used to be able to. I cannot do it anymore.
Look, Mum, no hands.
Like I used to be able to just cycle, no hands, whatever. Now I need one hand.
What are you doing? Pulling out your Tic Tacs.
What? My Tic Tacs. Pulling out my mint patty.
Where's your hands? What are you doing?
Well, you got them in your
pocket.
pocket.
Why do you not need to hold it?
Your hands are cold. So you put your hands in your pockets and you just cycle on.
You don't have gloves?
I have gloves. Now I have to wear the gloves. But I did it recently. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was a young person the last time I did that. It was just terrifying.
Oh, dear. Well, back to Peter Tosh. Apologies for the segue. I've now forgotten what I was talking about. Oh, yes. Peter Tosh. Yes, he was quite militant politically and outspoken. His outspoken nature often made him a target. Once, he famously lit up a giant spliff on stage at the One Love Peace concert in 1978. And after that, he gave a bit of a lecture to politicians. And then he was brutally beaten up by police.
Yeah, I could. When you said right at the beginning that he was a bit of someone who would rally against injustice, I thought this is not going to go well for him.
Well, he was a key voice against apartheid, and in 1987 he actually won a Grammy for the song No Nuclear War. Plus, he had lots of kids, about 10. But then, Michelle, this is where I'm just going to jump straight into it. Tragedy struck on the 11th of September, bit of an ominous date, 1987. So Tosh was at home with his common-law wife, Marlene, a few friends. He's in Jamaica at his place in, I can't remember the name of the street, but it's mentioned in all the news reports, and I'll send you the links. And a few friends round. Well, they were watching TV on satellite, via satellite. They were watching television. 3 armed men suddenly turned up, broke in, got them to lie on their tummies, demanded everybody get down and demanded US dollars from Peter Tosh. But the people in the room, Peter and his friends and his partner, they all recognized the ringleader as a man called Denis Leppo Lobban. He was a guy that Tosh had actually befriended after Lobban got out of prison. And according to an account in the Jamaica Observer back in 2012, Peter Tosh had even looked after Lobban when he got out of prison. They say that he fed him, helped him get him back on his feet, even bought him a brand new bed. Lobban was welcome. It's called Barbican Road, the place where he lives. He was welcome at Tosh's Barbican Road house. He would come and go so often that even Peter Tosh's dogs knew him.
So he turned.
So he was able to get in. He turned. Sometimes people just want that little bit extra.
Fuckwit. Sorry, I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like you give, and they bite the hand that feeds them.
But this makes me think of that story about the fact that Peter Tosh was helping Denis Leppo Lobban. Makes me think about that story about the frog that gives a scorpion a lift across the river. He doesn't want to because he's a scorpion. You're going to bite me and then we'll both drown halfway. That's what the scorpion says. He says, well, if I did that, then we'll drown. Both of us will die. Why would I do that? But then halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog as they're drowning. The frog says, why did you do that? And the scorpion says, I'm a scorpion. It's what I do.
It's your nature. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, this guy was in jail for something. We don't know what. But there's always an opportunity to be had. And sometimes it's about me rather than being kind to the people who have been kind to you. So...
yeah. Well, listen, Tosh and his pals.
Am I allowed
Peter
to call him
Tosh.
Toshy?
I don't know. He's not here to
To say.
spoiler. He's not around to get upset with that. But
Exactly.
Peter Tosh had just come back from a trip to the States, and I think Lobban had known that. And according to one of the survivors, the Wailers drummer, Carlton Santa Davis, he'd had a few friends over on his return from the States. And Davis, the witness who survived that evening, also said he knew Lobban and was able to recognise him.
Okay.
He'd seen him around Kingston. Everyone knew Leppo. So despite, like we just said, despite Tosh being so helpful to him, what Santa Davis pointed out was that Leppo was one of those guys who made a habit of always asking for more. Plus, there was rumours floating around that Peter Tosh only helped Lobban because Lobban had gone to prison on Peter Tosh's behalf. But that's not
What?
proven.
Okay.
It's a rumour. There's a ton of rumours I'll talk about later. So around 7:30, you know, these guys have arrived on motorbikes. They're terrorising Peter Tosh and all his friends. They're all lying on the floor, being beaten, bashed. They're really laying into Peter Tosh in particular. But at this point, Peter Tosh is saying to them, look, I'll sort you out. I'll get it another time. They didn't care. They've bashed him in the head. He's almost passing out. They hit him in the head with the butt of the rifle, and it was not looking good. But then during this, the doorbell rings, or there's a knock at the door, and some more guests arrive. DJ Jeff Free Eye Dixon from the local radio station, a big Jamaican radio station, and his wife. They turn up. They're also forced to the floor, had their watches and jewellery taken by the men. This is a horrific night. According to witnesses, Lobban said to Tosh while he laid on the floor, you're going to be dead tonight, so you better say nothing. And at one point, I think Leppo also said that he would behead him.
Oh, my God.
I know.
What did Tosh do to him that was so bad that he deserved this from this guy?
Well, this is what's going on. I mean, at one point when Peter Tosh had said, look, I'll get you the money the other time, the three men kind of were getting ready to maybe leave, but then suddenly it all switched. They just opened fire, killed Peter Tosh. Lobban actually shot him in the forehead. Jeffrey I. Dixon also was murdered, and herbalist Wilton Doc Brown, and left four more people, including Tosh's wife Marlene, seriously wounded. In fact, she was shot in the head, played dead, and survived. When the men were about to leave, one of them noticed that Marlene was still alive and was about to turn back and finish her off, but Lobban said, she dead already.
No, she ain't.
Sorry about that terrible accent. She wasn't. Then there was a getaway driver waiting for Lobban and the two men, but they were subsequently identified, and Lobban and the getaway driver were captured by police. Denis Lobban was then sentenced the following year in June 1988, and it took the jury 5 minutes to condemn him to death by hanging for taking the lives of Peter Tosh, Free-Eye Dixon and Doc Wilton. Lobban was 33 and maintained his innocence throughout the court case. I know. He said he was at a bar with friends that night, and eventually his sentence was commuted to life, but his accomplices, whose identities were never revealed, were acquitted.
Oh, my God.
Some say that they never were caught, but then I've read somewhere else that they were acquitted. So, Michelle, why did this happen? I mean, you've got lots of questions about it. You're thinking, you know, why is this guy so violent towards Peter Tosh?
Why did he turn on Tosh? And why so violently? And then does he have mental health issues? Because he's clearly claiming, I wasn't even there. I was at a bar. What the hell?
So you're asking why? Why did this man turn on Peter Tosh? You know, he'd been so good to him, but like Santa Davis said, some people just want more. This guy just wanted more. And like I said, he's a scorpion. He'd heard about Tosh's US trip. He figured he'd come back with a stash of American dollars. That money is worth a hell of a lot more, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's why. But Other rumours have said, in fact, this is what Santa Davis says. He claimed the whole thing kicked off after Tosh's wife Marlene got mouthy with Lobban. She called him a batty man one time.
What does that mean?
It's deeply insulting. It's a Jamaican slur for a homosexual, and it's incredibly insulting.
Okay.
And Davis said that one of the gunmen actually shouted at Marlene mid-attack, saying, "This is because of you."
Oh, shit.
Even though she survived, that accusation stuck. In fact, I discovered that she had been looked down upon by some who felt she was a bad influence on Peter Tosh, causing him to break ties with family and friends.
Oh.
She wasn't like the calming influence of his previous girlfriend, Yvonne, who passed away. They all said she brought out the best in him, but some say that Marlene was actually a practitioner of witchcraft. And at some point when Peter Tosh had visited Nigeria and visited a witch doctor, it is said that he was warned off about her, or a light-skinned woman, and that she would bring about his downfall.
Oh, my goodness.
Meanwhile, poor old Marlene's got a bullet lodged in her skull for the rest of her life.
Right.
So really, I don't know what to believe. In another interview in The Cable, which I've provided the link for, this was written last year on the 37th anniversary of Peter Tosh's death. There was this nugget of a rumour that was flying about at the time of the murders, that Bob Marley's wife, Rita, who obviously Bob Marley had died already at this point. Rita, who controlled Bob Marley's estate, might have had something to do with Peter Tosh's murder. Why, you may ask, Michelle?
Yeah.
The surviving members of the original Wailing Wailers were in a legal battle over Marley's multi-million-dollar Tough Gong studio in Kingston, and things got even messier when Bunny Wailer, who was the last living member of the trio, gave interviews accusing Rita of being a Jezebel, and he even claimed that Peter Tosh had been sleeping with her while she was still married to Bob.
Oh my
Why
God.
blame the wives? They're responsible.
This feels like, Sally Jesse Raphael fodder,
Yeah. I do have some theories about that. I'll get back to that in a minute, because I just wanted to say that all three original Wailing Wailers, Bunny Wailer, Peter Tosh and Bob Marley, were all converts of the spiritual movement of Rastafari that started in Jamaica in the 1930s. This movement grew out of poverty and oppression when many Jamaicans were looking for hope and identity after slavery and colonialism that they'd experienced, and generationally. Rastafari is built on the belief that Haile Selassie the former emperor of Ethiopia, is a living god and a symbol of African pride and freedom. And as such, Ethiopia became a kind of promised land, seen as the true spiritual home for people of African descent who had been taken away during slavery. So it's kind of like the Holy Land, all people of African origin.
It sounds pretty good, actually.
It does sometimes. I like the ganja and the dreadlock element, but there's more to it than that.
No, I was going to say, if it's providing a home
Like Israel?
for everybody to join together, Israel.
It is. And the movement draws heavily from the Bible, but has its own interpretations. For example, Rastas often point to passages about Zion, meaning Africa, and Babylon, meaning the corrupt Western world. They've reinterpreted those words to mean Africa and the corrupt Western world. And the laws of Rastafari aren't written down like in other religions, but there are guiding principles, such as, and you'll like this, living naturally, rejecting Western materialism, even though Peter Tosh was watching satellite TV, smoking the ganja, of course, as a sacrament to connect with the divine, and wearing dreadlocks as a sign of their covenant with God, inspired by the Nazarites in the Bible. At its roots, Rastafari is about reclaiming identity, resisting oppression, and finding spiritual freedom outside the colonial systems. And Peter Tosh lived as a strict Rastafarian. He followed the faith's rule to the letter, except for the satellite TV. You'll love this one. He avoided contact with menstruating women.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
He kept to the Ital diet. There's a Rasta way of eating clean, natural food, and it's called the Ital diet. And he believed in doing good to others.
What's wrong with women on their rags? It's the most natural thing.
I think it might be another religion also avoids that.
Well, they think it's dirty. They think women are dirty at that time.
But Tosh was a vocal supporter of having a Palestinian homeland and even refused offers to perform in Israel. Towards the end of his life, he often took to the stage wearing Palestinian dress with a spliff in his hand, and he also had a guitar shaped like an M16 rifle as well.
He's quite inflammatory.
Yes. Peter Tosh was 42 at the time of his murder, which shocked the music world. It felt especially cruel because he'd been so close to a career comeback.
Right.
His radical edge endeared him to anti-establishment types, and as a symbol to represent his belief, he carried that guitar, like I said, in the shape of a rifle. Ironically, that was the gun that killed him, they say.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure that's true, but that's what I read. So while Bob Marley became the global face of reggae, Peter Tosh was at its militant heart. He was the rebel, the one that kept pushing for equal rights and justice no matter what the cost. And he met quite a grisly and shocking end too soon.
Yeah, he did. Gone too soon.
Gone too soon, Peter Tosh. Off you go, download some of his albums, chill out, spark up a spliff, get your feet up, undo your trousers, relax,
let it all hang out.
roll down your waistband, sink into the sofa.
When you were talking about his guitar shaped like a rifle and then talking about spliffs and whatever, I just had this mental moment memory.
Mental moment
memory. I just had a moment where I recalled just recently, a few months ago, when I was in Australia, my sister and I, we'd gone to get falafel on the street near where she lives. And we were waiting for them to do our order, and there was a vape shop right next door. So I said, come on, let's just go in and have a look.
Let's go get a vape.
Let's go get a vape.
Let's go get a marijuana vape.
Well, do you know what? There was this huge machine gun made out of glass.
What?
It was a machine gun vape.
Like a bomb?
No.
Oh.
It's a machine gun vape. I said to the woman in there, I said, what is this and what do you do with it? And she said, oh, it's for parties. You load it up and you just shoot everyone with vape.
What?
My sister and I were like, what the hell? I mean, it's amazing what people come up with.
I don't know if I'd appreciate that at a party. I think I might be triggered, literally.
Yes. I thought, you have no control. But she said, oh, it's really popular. We sell loads of these.
Oh, my God. How much was it?
Oh, hundreds.
Wow.
It was like, wow, I'm really behind the times when it comes to the old vaping.
Vape parties.
Well, I'm not a vapor.
I'm not a vapor.
So it was just quite shocking. I'd never seen that before.
That is utterly insane.
Yes.
I just can't get my head around it. I'm just thinking about, in the 80s, bucket bongs. That was the fun thing to do at a party, or a hot knife here and there.
Yeah, bucket bong, brekkie bong.
What's a brekkie bong?
Well, it was like a bucket bong at brekkie.
Oh, yuck.
Brekkie bucket bong. I know. Those were the days.
You got the vibes.
I got the vibes.
You got the vibes.
I got the vibes.
Across America, healthcare teams are managing complex demands. At Siemens Health & Ears, we're here to help. With more than 17,000 U.S. team members, we're pioneering breakthroughs in medical imaging, therapy, and laboratory diagnostics, giving healthcare teams the tools to deliver smarter, faster, more precise care. Because when the right technology meets the right moment, diagnoses are clearer, treatments more effective, and lives can truly change. For us, it's more than innovation. It's a promise built for generations. Siemens Health & Ears.
Well, Geordie, I'm not going down the bong road for mine.
That's a shame.
My story this week.
I was really getting relaxed and really into it there. I was starting to chill out. Shoulders were de-hunching.
Get the munchies.
Yeah, where's my Mars bars?
Get the munchies, get the giggles, all the good stuff.
Get the existential dread.
No. I mean, we did say it was Hollywood.
I'm sorry, I went to Kingston, Jamaica.
That's okay.
I went to Trenchtown.
Trenchfoot. I looked more at like a cutesy Hollywood kind of death here. I'm looking at the life and mostly death of Brittany Murphy.
Hang on, 1 second. You said a cutesy death.
No, well, because I always thought of her as being like a cutesy Hollywood kind of girl.
Okay, she's a cutesy Hollywood girl, but she sadly died.
She did sadly die.
It wasn't a cute death.
It wasn't a cute... Is any death cute? I don't know. How would you have a cute death?
An acute case of death, perhaps.
I mean, look, I was never really a big fan of Brittany Murphy.
Sure.
I actually thought she was not an edgy actress. But then when I sort of dug into it, she did do 8 Mile with Eminem.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Wasn't she dating him for a bit?
Oh, I think she dated them all.
All of them, all of the M&Ms.
All the Eminems. No, because she did something with Ashton Kutcher and they dated. I think she dated her leading men, basically. But she also did Girl Interrupted, which also was quite edgy. So maybe I got her wrong, which, to be fair, I get a lot wrong.
It happens.
It does happen. The episode is creepy, this episode I'm doing, because the circumstances around her death are quite disturbing. There's a lot of what we love about her death. Mysterious stuff, conspiracy theories. And she went from this Hollywood A-lister to this kind of washed-up actress who spent her last months on Earth drugged up on prescription meds, massively underweight. She was completely anemic, isolated from anyone who might get help for her because her husband was this deeply fucked up and manipulative guy who, it seems, just got off on controlling her mother, her career, and I think even the mum sort of enabled this. This guy was a bit like a cult leader, and they were his, followers of two. I'm just going to jump right in to this story.
Okay.
Brittany Murphy was born Brittany Bertolotti on November 10, 1977 in New Jersey. No, New Jersey.
Huh?
How do I say New Jersey?
New Jersey.
New
Jersey.
New Jersey. I can't even do it.
New Jersey.
Jersey Shore. But before I actually get onto that, I'm going to do a little throwback, Geordie.
Okay.
Top 3 singles of November 1977 in Australia.
Oh, I can imagine it would be Skyhooks or something like that. Ego, it's not a dirty word.
Ego. No, it's not, actually. But it's a good reference. We start with Rod Stewart at number 3.
Sailing.
You're in my heart. You're in my soul.
Oh, I love that one. Bit of Rod.
It's a good one. I love a hot rod.
I saw a bit of him at Glastonbury on the big screens in Wimbledon.
Really?
That was a fun evening.
Really? Like
a fun way to spend 10 minutes.
Like an old Rod? No?
No, not really. I like the young Rod, not the old Rod. Yeah.
Young Rod was... I didn't know he was so hot until you look back and you're like, man, I would have hit that for sure. I can see why he was, a bit of a sex symbol.
Yeah.
Number 2, Blondie. Which one do you think that would have been?
In 77, I think it would have been Denis, I'm still in love with you. No.
Same album, but not that one. In the Flesh. Ooh. Yes.
Gotcha.
I never thought that was a single, actually. But there you go. Number 2.
Not one of my favourites.
No. Number 1, Andy Gibb. On his own.
Was it something to do with dancing?
No, it was a slow one.
What was that?
I just want to be your everything.
Your face. I love your Andy Gibb face.
Thank you.
It's like a dinosaur being born or something. That was something else.
Because I had to do the voice, and so that was just the face.
I don't know that tune.
If you heard it, not my rendition, I'm sure you probably would know it.
I doubt it.
I'll pop it on the Patreon for all you patrons, you lucky people.
I was really young in 1977. I'm not going to give the actual number.
Oh, look, I wasn't even born.
Bullshit. So, yes, okay, that was a nice little segue back to 1977, the year that Brittany Murphy was born. Brittany Bertolotti.
Bertolotti. Is that like a bean? Bertolotti beans? No, Berlotti is a bean. Her mum, Sharon Murphy. Her dad was Angelo Bertolotti. They did not have a fairy tale marriage. Angelo was in and out of prison. He had links to the mafia. And by the time Brittany was 3, Sharon had packed up her shit and moved her and Brittany to Edison, New Jersey, and basically decided she was going to raise a star. Oh. And Brittany was up for it.
A momager.
Sharon signed her up for acting and singing classes and dance classes. And apparently Brittany was the kind of kid who would always say, I'm going to be famous. I mean, look, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but this is just what I read. In fact, there's a story all over the internet that says that when she was 5 years old, she went up in a restaurant to George Segal and Burt Reynolds and said, "Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm going to be a star."
That reminds me of you going up to, who did you go up to? Was it Rolf Harris and Cliff Richard? Didn't you get to go to Sydney to the Siebel Townhouse and meet Cliff Richard or something?
I went up to Cliff Richard and Shirley Bassey. I said, can I have your autograph?
I'm going to be a star.
Oh my God. I'm going to make it big. I'm going to be famous.
You're going to be an eavesdropper, Shirls.
Look, I don't know if those stories are true, but it kind of gives you an idea of she was a sassy little girl. But apparently, you know, she was this ambitious kid. She was also smart and funny. And her school teachers remember her as being confident and charismatic, but always kind of angling for the spotlight. By the early 90s, she was on that path. She was in commercials, doing bit parts in TV shows like Murphy Brown. She did something called Drexel's Class in 1991.
I don't know.
No, I think it might have been an American thing. Apparently that was her first kind of real deal TV role. And even though the show didn't go anywhere, it did get her to LA and onto Hollywood's radar. So cut to 1995 and she is cast as Ty in Clueless. Ty was the bogan new girl who gets a makeover from Cher and Dion.
Yeah.
And Brittany is great in it. And overnight, she goes from just being this kind of nobody teen actress to being part of this whole kind of 90s pop culture machine. Because Clueless was iconic, you know, Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
From there, her career just went up, up, up. She voiced Luann on King of the Hill, which I never watched. She played, as I mentioned before, Daisy in Girl Interrupted. And she really held her own against Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder. She was really funny in a film called Drop Dead Gorgeous. And apparently she was known for being quite comedic. And then she did 8 Mile with Eminem. And by this stage, she is making a ton of money. So much money that she buys Britney Spears' old Hollywood Hills mansion for $3.5 million, which in the 90s, that is big fucking money.
Right.
For a while, Brittany Murphy is everywhere. She was doing these good movies, but then she started to do some duds, like Just Married with Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, yeah.
She did Uptown Girls, which apparently wasn't so good. Sin City, I don't remember her in that.
Oh, that was all black and white and kind of half...
That was Tarantino,
half
wasn't
kind
it?
of... No, I think it was Robert Rodriguez. I'm not sure.
Maybe,
but I do remember watching that. It was all very dark noir kind of stuff. They were almost cartoons.
Was it a bit Take On Me film clip?
No, I don't recall.
At this point, the roles are kind of going downhill. As I said before, you know, she's dating her lead man. As you mentioned, Eminem, Ashton Kutcher. She was engaged to some talent manager called Jeff Quintinez, but their relationship lasted 4 months. And by the mid-2000s, her career is just limping along. The rom-coms aren't hitting.
She peaked.
The projects are getting smaller. And that's when a guy called Simon Monjack shows up. So
Yeah.
Simon Monjack is a British writer. And no one can see me doing the air quotes here, but
You've just done air quotes, yeah.
this guy is a total fake. He's a faker.
Is he?
He had one disputed writing credit on a film called Factory Girl.
That's the Edie Sedgwick film with Sienna Miller.
Right. Okay. I don't know what that film is. Apparently he told everyone he wrote on it. People are like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
But he had a ton of lawsuits. He was evicted from loads of houses. He told lots of lies. Like, he told people he had brain cancer and that he cured it with shark cartilage from Africa.
Huh?
He bragged about that he dated Madonna and Elle Macpherson. He didn't.
This is starting to ring some alarm bells for me.
Meanwhile, he is broke, dodging the debt collectors.
Yeah.
But to Brittany, he's this kind of older, charming, mysterious British guy who talks it up.
Yeah.
And by 2007, they're married. They did not have a big Hollywood wedding because he's Jewish. They apparently just had a rabbi in their living room.
Oh.
From that moment on, things get weird for Brittany. So friends
gosh.
of Brittany's say that Simon isolated her, made her fire her managers. He took her phone. He started speaking for her in meetings. And her career just nosedives even further.
Gosh. God.
And Brittany, who'd been this vibrant and funny and bubbly kind of kooky actress, suddenly looks like this gaunt little stick in paparazzi photos because she's always had this kind of puppy fat look about her. And she then turns into this like anorexic. And apparently she's becoming really unprofessional. She's late to sets. Rumours start flying around that she's on prescription meds, and pretty quickly the roles really start drying up. You've got Brittany, who was once this 90s darling, stuck in this Hollywood Hills mansion with her mum and her sketchy husband Simon. And by late 2009, Brittany's career is basically in the toilet. Fast forward to December 20th, 2009. And Brittany's mum, Sharon, who lives with Brittany and Simon, finds her daughter collapsed in the bathroom. Look, I've seen pictures of that bathroom. Geordie, it's a fucking tip. It is like a hoarder's bathroom, right? And I just thought, oh my God, like, is this what the rest of her house was like?
Were they kind of holed up in it, not going out much and being isolated in there and getting a bit fusty?
Yes, he had isolated her from her friends. I think that was like the inner circle, the inner sanctum.
But she was still working.
Not really. Everything had dried up because she was being unprofessional, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, she was doing sort of, you know, itty-bitty shitty parts in films, but, you know, just taking what she could get. But she wasn't this, you know, high flyer that she had been in the 90s. The mum finds her in this, like, hoarder bathroom. Paramedics rush Brittany to Cedars-Sinai, but it's too late. She is pronounced dead at 10:04 a.m. and she's only 32. So young.
Oh, man.
And look, immediately the whole conspiracy machine kicks into overdrive because the official cause of death was pneumonia combined with anaemia and this kind of toxic cocktail of prescription pills. The tabloids, they are not buying this because, you know, how could this supposedly healthy young actress just drop dead? So, of course, the first theory is drugs. They're not talking like crack or heroin or anything, but Adderall and painkillers, diet pills.
Oh, right.
And to be fair, the toxicology report did not find illegal drugs in her system, but they did find that she had a bunch of pain meds, anxiety meds, and antidepressants, which I think speak to the fact that obviously shit was not going well for her and she had turned to those pills because she was not in a good place. Then came the black mould theory.
Right.
Obviously, Geordie, we had talked about ergot mould in the last episode.
A couple of weeks ago.
We're bringing up all the moulds. So apparently her
It can be deadly.
It can be deadly. And black mould is fucking terrible because often it's hiding behind walls. You don't even know it's there, but you're breathing it in.
Yeah, for sure.
Her fancy mansion, I actually did a little bit of digging into. Apparently the house was originally built by Madonna. And then she sold it to Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake.
All the ladies. Yes.
Who then sold it to Brittany Murphy because apparently Britney Spears had an encounter with a dark spirit in that house.
What?
And this spirit had tried to push her down the stairs. And she was so freaked out by the bad juju in that house that she fled that house, never went back, sold it on to Brittany Murphy in 2003. Who?
For a knockdown price.
Well, 3.5. She's still got a pretty penny for that mansion. Yeah. But apparently, I read, Brittany Murphy hated that house and felt that there was a dark energy there. So, I don't know. There was talks of black mould and black energy.
Well, maybe it was the black mould messing with their minds.
Maybe. But her mum and Simon, fucking Monjack, both said they thought the house was unhealthy, but black mould was dismissed by the coroner as not a factor.
Okay.
People did not want to let that black mould theory go, and the idea stuck. But if you think about it, Sharon didn't get sick from black mould, and apparently they had a dog. The dog didn't get sick from black mould.
Dog was fine.
Dog was fine. The mum was fine. But then there's this whole thing with Simon Monjack, because here's the thing. 5 months after Brittany Murphy died, Simon Monjack died in the same house, in the same bathroom, with the same story. He died from pneumonia and anemia and a cocktail of meds. right?
Right.
So suddenly...
That's just bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. So then when he died, the black mold angle, all the conspiracy theorists jumped on that because they're like, 2 bodies in the same house. Like, come on. It's got to be the black mold. But the official said, no, forget the black mold. It's not the black mold.
Move on from the black mold.
Move on, people. So what the hell was going on here? And this is where things kind of get a little bit mucky because Simon had already been on people's radar as really fucking sus. After Brittany's death, he gave all these bizarre interviews. So he told Larry King he'd lost his everything, and he claimed that he and Brittany had been planning a child. This was news to anyone that knew her. He and Brittany's mum, Sharon, gave tours of their bedroom.
Oh my
to reporters.
God, that is outrageous.
I know. And then he said on TV he was setting up a foundation for Brittany, and he urged people to send him money.
He's a chancer.
He is. Then he told people he was going to hold a public memorial for Brittany, and if you wanted to come and pay your respects, you got to pay up.
Oh, no, this guy.
I know. So people were sending money in for this foundation, but where was all the money going?
Into Simon's pocket, Michelle.
Exactly, because people did call Simon out and said, you know, where did this foundation money go? Well, the foundation disappeared. The memorial didn't happen. And he was just cashing in on her death because I think he was charging newspapers and TV channels for these tours of the house.
Oh, that's crazy.
I know. And he wasn't even being clever about it, you know. So he was definitely trying to milk the situation. And he was trying to be the star of the show, you know.
Yeah.
And it was completely creepy and people were grossed out by it.
I'm grossed out.
I'm grossed out by that creep. R.I.P. And you know what the R stands for when I say it about a creep. Because people who actually knew Brittany, they painted a whole different picture. They said Simon was controlling and manipulative, that he kept Brittany cut off from her friends, and that he micromanaged her every move. And in fact, according to a testimony from Simon Monjack's ex-fiancée, a woman called Elizabeth Ragsdale, she said he was, quote, a disturbed individual who was used to scamming people, and Brittany was one of his last victims.
Oh,
How
God.
fucking awful is that?
That's awful. Why did no one warn her? Oh, dear.
Apparently he was also deluded as fuck because according to Wikipedia, before Simon Monjack met Brittany, he was with a filmmaker called Alison Burnett at a public dinner where, as I mentioned before, he told everyone he was a multimillionaire, he dated Elle Macpherson and Madonna, he had a collection of Ferraris, and that he was dying of brain cancer but cured it with shark fins. None of it was true.
Too many.
None of it was true.
Too many fibs.
And friends were like, you got to break up with this guy. But as soon as he got wind of what the friends were saying, like, ditch this dickhead, he isolated her, took her phone. No one could get hold of her except her mother, who I said moved into that mansion. And she was also under the control of Simon. And after Brittany's death, those same friends pointed the finger at him, suggesting his kind of coercive control and influence pushed her over the edge with her weight. Because, like I said, she was basically anorexic, massively anemic. And as we've talked about on this podcast, one way to control someone is through food or the lack of it.
Same with sleep as well. Plus, it sounds like the drugs were flowing freely.
Yes.
The prescription meds.
But there was a HBO docuseries in 2021 called What Happened, Brittany Murphy, where the deputy medical examiner, Dr. Lisa Shannon, who did Brittany's autopsy, said, and this is a quote, if she had gotten to a hospital early enough, you can detect pneumonia on the chest with an X-ray. They could have started treatment. She would have had a chance.
No.
But obviously, Simon Monjack's not letting her go to a hospital, probably not even acknowledging that she was sick, right?
What about him and his pneumonia? What was his autopsy? Was it confirming pneumonia?
I didn't even look into that dickhead.
Right.
I didn't look into him. I get creeped out by that. apparently she was so anemic and so iron deficient that she had a hemoglobin count of 3.0, and most people have 12 to 15.
That's terrifying.
This doctor said the anemia in itself would have been fatal even without the pneumonia for her.
The poor girl, she was just so unwell and not being cared for properly.
Yes, exactly. And then there was this whole government conspiracy theory.
Government?
Which somehow made its way into the mix because apparently Brittany had spoken up in support of a Department of Homeland Security whistleblower, a woman called Julia Davis, not the Julia Davis from Nighty Night. It was claimed that after she reported security flaws on the US border, she was harassed by the government, and Brittany and Simon were all caught up in it after offering Julia Davis support. Apparently, Brittany allegedly told friends that she thought she was being followed.
Oh.
And after she died, Julia Davis spoke out and said she thought the government wanted Brittany silenced and was murdered.
God.
But to be clear, there's absolutely no evidence of
No.
that. She died of pneumonia.
Yeah, they didn't kill her by pneumonia, did they?
No. But then in 2013, Angelo, Brittany's estranged mafia link father, he apparently had a strand of her hair and had it tested. And he said it showed high levels of heavy metals, suggesting poisoning. But the LA County coroner dismissed that. And apparently hair samples aren't reliable and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the dad was even trying to make out that there was foul play involved. But the upshot here is that what we have is this high-flying 90s kind of actress who died of pneumonia and anemia.
Yeah.
Made worse by this cocktail of legal prescription meds. Simon Monjack died the same way 5 months later. No black mould, no secret government plot. But I think that when a celebrity dies in a weird way like this, people just want something more for it.
They need more. Yes, absolutely. And the same with Peter Tosh's horrific murder. I mean, it was bad enough that it was a home invasion led by somebody that he knew and had been kind to. But of course, suddenly it's his wife's problem. Maybe it's Bob Marley's wife's issue. Maybe they caused it. Maybe they're responsible. It goes on and on and on. And I just think it happened. It's tragic. It's fucking horrible. But that's what it is, guys.
I think what's happened here is that she's made a bad relationship choice.
Yeah.
I think this guy was a bit of a leech. And I think he obviously controlled her, isolated her, and probably diminished her confidence.
I would say so. And her robustness.
Yes. And, you know, his kind of dark influence on Brittany just diminished her to the point of death. And so I think it's quite sad. But to wrap up, Sharon sold that house. She pretty much vanished after Simon's death. She gave a few statements over the years denying, you know, that she was responsible or enabled him. And, you know, and in the end, yeah, as you said, truth is kind of boring. She was sick. She was worn down. She made bad choices. And there's no black mold. And it's just another sad case of a talented woman being manipulated by a man. And she got git. That's it.
And the dark presence in that mansion that Britney Spears felt carried on in the form of a dark spirit in a man.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, thank you for that story. It's such a twisty tale, the Hollywood death of Brittany Murphy. It's always in the news, that one. It comes up every now and again, and I do read about it.
Yeah. I just think because there's all of these crazy layers to this story.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the end, she was sick. She died. It could have been prevented. It wasn't. That's sort of the long and short of it.
Well, R.I.P. to Brittany Murphy and Peter Tosh. His music still lives on. You can still go see Clueless and 8 Mile and enjoy Brittany's performances in that and Girl Interrupted, all good films. And in the meantime, all we can do now for you guys is to say, go over to Patreon, have a little look at the links. If you want to find something to watch on TV, it's all there. Plus, we've got the monthly episode drop coming up. It's advice columns. You're going to laugh till you choke
God.
at some of the problems that were written in, and maybe you might learn something. So go over there, drop us a penny in the pot, buy us a coffee, and you can be a Patreon or a patron. And in the meantime,
Wherever you are,
whatever you do,
just keep
eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.
Dropping, dropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping all day long. Eavesdropping, this is the song. Drop it like it's hot.
Across America, healthcare teams are managing complex demands. At Siemens Health and Ears, we're here to help. With more than 17,000 U.S. team members, we're pioneering breakthroughs in medical imaging, therapy, and laboratory diagnostics, giving healthcare teams the tools to deliver smarter, faster, more precise care. Because when the right technology meets the right moment, diagnoses are clearer, treatments more effective, and lives can truly change. For us, it's more than innovation. It's a promise built for generations. Siemens Health and Ears.